Welcome to Asialaga, a magical water world where the barriers between the mortal realm and the Fey realm overlap. Wonders aplenty can be found across its many islands, but explorers and looters beware, for monsters and pirates are just as prevalent. Any who would reject this warning will no doubt. TT, I'm trying to record here. What? What? Rah? Rah? What? What? You want to help? Say hi. Anyway, where was I? Wonders aplenty can be found across its many islands, but explorers and looters beware, for monsters and pirates are just as prevalent. Any who would reject this warning will no doubt face a great many dangers, and yet, for some, the call of adventure is impossible to resist. I don't remember much about my old life. I recall enough to know that I was a human writer with some measure of success. My final memories are of being at a fan convention, stepping outside for some fresh air, and then being hit by what I assume was a bolt of lightning. There was a flash of light, a deafening crack, the smell of burnt hair, and a sensation of twirling around rapidly. An instant later, I was laying on a stretcher, surrounded by worried fans as I was being loaded into an ambulance. I don't know if I ever made it to the hospital because after that I blacked out. The next thing I remember is flying through a semi-transparent tunnel of rainbow lights with stars and space dust visible in the distance. It felt as if I was shooting through an intergalactic wormhole or something. There was a series of bright flashes, a falling sensation, and then I found myself surrounded by a warm liquid cloaked in darkness. Time lost all meaning as I floated there. It felt like it could have been seconds or weeks. My grasp on conscious thought was fleeting. I recall hearing muffled speech during brief moments of clarity, and then I was pulled from the warm darkness into a brightly lit room. I tried to open my eyes, but everything was blurry. It was cold. I found myself longing to return to the warm liquid. A moment later, I was wrapped in a blanket and I felt myself being held in someone's arms. And then I heard her voice. A voice so lovely and comforting that I was overcome with emotion. "Welcome to the world, little one." My vision finally cleared, and I looked up at the smiling face of the woman who was holding me. Her sapphire eyes looked tired, her long cobalt hair was a mess, her pointed ears sagged a bit, and her steel blue skin was covered in sweat. But despite her exhaustion, I saw nothing but love and kindness in her expression. She was beautiful. She must have been an angel. It was at that moment that I fully grasped my situation. I had died and been reborn into a world not my own. I looked down at my tiny baby hands and saw my skin was light green instead of blue like my new mother. "I'm so proud of you, honey," came a strong, masculine voice as a man bent forward and kissed Mom. He was quite tall and well-built, with long black hair cascading over his wide shoulders and a short beard lining his jaw. His skin was green as well, a few shades darker than mine, and he had pointed ears like Mom. His yellow eyes looked spooky at first, but then I saw nothing but love behind them. I knew then that this was my father. "Aw, he's such a little cutie," came a third voice. I looked over to see a woman with dark brown skin, curly black hair, and neon pink eyes. She too had pointed ears. I wondered if this was some kind of elf world I had been born into. I also noticed she was holding her own baby who looked to be only a few months old. "Now Sam will have a cousin to play with," Mom said with a smile as she looked at the woman. "So she and my mother must be sisters." "Have you guys decided on a name for your little one?" the woman asked. "Say hello to Kai Hexum," Dad proudly proclaimed. Everyone smiled and cheered. After these first few moments of clarity, my thoughts seemed to be in a constant blur. Time once again lost all meaning. I'd be there 1 minute, then suddenly it would be weeks later. I would eventually come to understand what was happening to me. The infant brain of my new body was struggling to accommodate the adult mind of my old one. Gradually, my continuity of thoughts began to stabilize. I recalled that my new name was Kai Hexum. My mother was a water fairy named Arya, and my father was a swamp elf named Lucian. My adoptive aunt was a high elf named Mara Kusalar, and her son Samrion, and her son was Samrion, or Sam for short. Aunt Mara and my mother were not related by blood, but grew up as sisters regardless. We lived in the seaside village of Pixuic in the kingdom of Osvale. This world was called Asialaga, and it was mostly ocean with thousands of islands of varied sizes. There were two moons in the sky named after deities. The white moon represented Mother Sala, the goddess of fate, and the smaller blue moon represented Mother Cristaria, the goddess of magic. The twin mothers, as they were often called, were said to be cosmic companions and lovers. The blue moon was much closer to the planet and emitted trails of mana along its orbital path, which formed a web of ley lines around the world called the moonweave. This was how magic worked on Asialaga. People would focus and channel mana from the moonweave to power their spells and abilities. Around the time of my 5th birthday, I felt like I finally had a fairly decent grasp on my day-to-day thoughts. I still didn't recall much about my old life, but I was aware enough to fully comprehend my situation. And that's just a little snippet of the novel that I'm working on. Figured I would share that all with you. If you're interested in me reading the full chapter, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, thanks for your time. And as always, have a great rest of your day. Stay magnificent, and may the force be with you.